Hello and welcome to today's English lesson. My name is Stuart. In today's lesson, we're looking at inversion in English. Let's go to the intro. Now, today's lesson is looking at inversion, and inversion is generally an advanced structure that you need to incorporate into your English skill set when you write and when you speak. And we use inversion a lot of the time in formal speech and when we want to emphasize a part of a sentence, for example. Now, as we know in English, the normal sentence structure is subject-verb, so subject-verb. But inversion, as you can imagine, we change the order. Okay, we change the order of the subject and the verb to be verb-subject. So, for example, in this conditional structure, if I knew, if we invert that, had I known, for example. Okay, had I known. Now, we use it commonly with auxiliary verbs, and we'll see in these examples here how the auxiliary verbs are inverted in the sentences in order to give that emphasis and the inversion. Okay, so now when do we use inversion? Now there are different reasons that we use the inverted structure. We can use it, for example, for conditionals. Now I'm not going to show you every structure today, but I'll just say, for example, that when we form questions in English, we're using inversion because, as we know in questions, the auxiliary verb comes before the subject, and that is the example of inversion. So questions are one, conditionals are another. So look at these examples. Had I known it was your birthday, I'd have got you a gift. Had I known. Now the normal structure in the conditional with if would be if I had known, but by using inversion, we're putting had here. Had I known it was your birthday, I'd have got you a gift. Second example, were it to rain, we'd have to cancel the party. Were it to rain. Again, if it were to rain, we'd have to cancel the party. But what we're doing is that we are inverting these two. Were it to rain. Had I known, were it to rain. Now the second example of inversion is with negative adverbs. For example, barely, hardly, rarely, scarcely, seldom, never. Nowhere, for example, we can use as well. Look at this. Seldom have I seen such an example of beauty. Now this is showing emphasis here. It's quite formal, as I said before, but there's an emphasis that I want to have come across in my speech. Seldom have I seen such an example of beauty. Seldom have I seen. Rarely have I had a meal as nice as that one. Rarely have I had a meal as nice as that one. I want to emphasize how nice the meal was. Rarely have I had. Seldom have I seen. Rarely have I had. And never again will I travel with that airline. Never again will I travel with that airline. I want to emphasize that fact that I'll never travel with that airline again. Never again will I travel. So we're inverting here. So we can see how we have inverted these auxiliary verbs in order to show that emphasis, that inversion. Okay. The next one is with adverb, adverbial phrases, or even prepositional phrases sometimes. For example, under no circumstances are you allowed to smoke inside. Under no circumstances are you allowed to smoke inside. Now, the normal sentence would be, you are not allowed to smoke inside, okay? But here we're stressing this with the adverbial phrase, under no circumstances, inverting, are you allowed to smoke inside? Again, similar. At no time did you tell me you were unhappy. At no time did you tell me you are unhappy. We could also say, you never told me that you were unhappy, which would be a normal sentence. But here with the emphasis, at no time did you tell me you were unhappy. And the last example here, on no account are you to leave the office before 6 p.m. On no account, okay? Emphasizing that point. On no account are you to leave the office at 6 p.m. So these are some examples of inversion. Now I'll be back in 2 seconds with more examples of when we use inversion. Okay, and the final 3 examples of when we use inversion are with other negative words or expressions. For example, no sooner, little, or not. So no sooner had we arrived than it started to snow. Little did we realize the extent of the problem. And not for a single moment were we happy about the change. Okay, not for a single moment. We can also use inversion after neither, nor, or so. Now you're probably familiar with this structure, but here are 2 examples anyway. So Jack doesn't like fish and neither do I. But I like vegetables and so does Jack. So we're using inversion after neither, nor, or so. And the final one, number 6, is after as, than, or so. Now, this is a very literary use. It's not common in speech, although you can hear it from time to time, but it is quite literary, as I said. So look at the examples. So expensive were the prices that we had to leave. So we went to a restaurant and the prices were expensive. So expensive were the prices that we had to leave. The fish was really expensive, as were most of the mains. So the fish were really expensive, as were most of the mains, the main dishes, the main courses, the main meals on the menu. So the fish was really expensive, as were most of the mains. And the last one, English speakers find it harder to learn Spanish than do Portuguese speakers. English speakers find it harder to learn Spanish than do Portuguese speakers, because obviously Portuguese and Spanish are more similar in their structures than, for example, English and Spanish. So that is why Portuguese speakers find it easier, or English speakers find it harder to learn Spanish than do Portuguese speakers. So we've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways of using inversion in English. Now, thank you very much for watching the lesson. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Remember to share the video, please, on social media, Facebook, Google+, Twitter. Share it up on social media. I'll see you in the next lesson. Have a good day. Bye.